All right, so in our last explainer, we talked about why the Gita's big teaching is called a secret. And remember, it's not because it's hidden, but because it asks a lot of us. Well, today, we're getting right to the heart of that teaching, a huge concept called direct knowledge. Let's dive in. So, direct knowledge is the absolute pillar of this entire chapter. And the Gita doesn't just treat it like another philosophy. Oh no. It calls this the king of knowledge. Really, the deepest, most profound understanding we can possibly get our hands on. But hang on, what does direct even mean in this context? You know, when we hear spiritual knowledge, our minds usually jump to things like faith or belief or maybe some kind of mystical experience. But what the Gita is pointing to here is something way more fundamental. And the answer it gives is actually surprisingly straightforward. Okay, so before we can really build up a picture of what direct knowledge is, we've got to clear away the clutter. It's super important to first get what the Gita insists this knowledge is not. I mean, just look at this list. Krishna is crystal clear here. Direct knowledge has nothing to do with memorizing a doctrine or blindly following some authority figure or just repeating phrases without really getting them. And it's definitely not about trying to conjure up some imaginary spiritual feeling. This is a total rejection of any kind of secondhand information. And this gets right to the heart of it. Think about it. Belief is something you can carry around in your head, and it might not change a single thing about you. It just changes what you think. Direct knowledge, though, it's impossible to have it without being transformed, because it's not a new thought. It's a completely new way of seeing everything. So if it's not belief, then what in the world is it? Okay, let's get into the positive definition now, and you'll see how this builds into something you can actually, experience for yourself. The Gita uses these brilliantly simple analogies. For instance, think about pain. You don't have a philosophy about pain, right? You don't subscribe to a belief system that proves it hurts. Nope. You just know it directly. It's an unmediated experience. There is zero gap between you and the knowing of it. It's just a felt, undeniable reality. Let's take an even deeper example. Right here, right now, you are aware. You're conscious. Now, do you believe you're conscious? Of course you don't. You just know it. It's probably the most self-evident truth of your entire existence. You don't need any proof or doctrine or authority to come and tell you it's true. And that is the quality of knowing the Gita is pointing to. And that brings us to the definition. It's knowing something by seeing it for yourself, not because someone else told you. It's all about experiential clarity and seeing things without distortion. So the big takeaway here is we're not talking about some big emotional high or a mystical vision. We're talking about pure, simple, clear perception. Now you might be thinking, well, where does my mind, my intellect fit into all this? The Gita has a huge amount of respect for our intelligence, but it also draws a very clear line in the sand. There's a boundary that the intellect, as powerful as it is, just can't cross. I mean, our intellect is an amazing tool, right? It can analyze information, it can sort things into neat little categories, it can build these incredibly complex theories to explain how the world works. All of that is essential. But, and this is the absolute key, intellect alone can't touch the deepest patterns of who we are. You can't just think your way out of the fear of losing something you love. You can't analyze your attachment away. Those things are rooted much deeper than thought. They're rooted in perception itself. And that's exactly why this kind of knowledge feels so different. It's not about stuffing one more fact or concept into your brain. It's actually a process of removal. It's about taking away the layers of misunderstanding that have been clouding your vision. It sounds simple, but it is utterly radical. So what's the big deal? What's the payoff? Why does this matter so much? Well, this is where it all gets incredibly practical. Because this shift in perception, from just believing something to directly knowing it, changes everything about how you live and how you act in the world. When knowledge becomes direct, this amazing thing starts to happen. All those actions that used to tie you up in knots with anxiety, they become free. The effort you put into things becomes clean, without all that egoic baggage, and the results, whether you succeed or fail, they just lose their power to throw you around emotionally. And the reason why is, well, it's profound. It's not because you're trying really hard to be detached or forcing yourself not to care. It's because that deep-seated feeling of, I am the one doing this and I own the results, you see right through it, and it just falls away, naturally. This right here, this sums up the whole game. The path of the Gita isn't about applying moral pressure or trying to suppress who you are. It's about a change in seeing that leads to a natural, effortless change in being. And that is why it's called the King of Knowledge. Okay, let's bring this home. How does this ancient idea really play out for us today? Because this tension, this conflict between just believing something and truly knowing it, is a huge dilemma in our modern world. You see this everywhere, don't you? People read all the books, they adopt the language, they align themselves with all these wonderful philosophies. But for so many, that deep inner sense of conflict and anxiety, it's still there. It hasn't been touched. And here's why. Belief. It's like a coat you put on. It operates at the level of your personality. It doesn't actually challenge your core sense of me. But direct knowledge, it goes straight to the root. It reveals what you actually are, and that changes the whole game. So, this is the really crucial point. The promise here isn't a new set of cozy beliefs to make you feel better. The promise is clarity. The goal is to end the fundamental confusion that makes us seek comfort in the first place. And that leaves us with this final thought to chew on. The path that the Gita is showing us invites a really radical question. What if freedom isn't about finding the perfect new thing to believe in? What if it's just about having the courage to finally see reality as it is, without all the old filters we've been looking through for so long?